Hi, everyone. Welcome to the National Parents Union Nightly Restorative Check-In. I'm Dr. Enjolie Laferie. It's February 25th. I always have to look at dates, and I always make the same comment because it surprises me. I don't know why I get surprised about time passing and just how much time is going by. Like if you think about that, we're going to be in March already. That just kind of blows my mind. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, I'm here in Autumn territory in this beautiful Sonoran Desert in Arizona. This show is the brainchild of Marisol Queveda Rerucha. And actually, you know what? Before I talk about Marisol, I should say I am back in Arizona for 2 weeks. You guys know that I was just moving around between Florida and Georgia and having a good time. So I'm glad to be rooted and back in the space that I'm in. And even before that, you guys knew I was painting my house, which I haven't put everything up on the walls yet. So anyway, it's just been a busy past few weeks. But okay, so I was talking about the show, right? So for those of you who are unaware, Marisol Queveda Rerucha hosts this show on Mondays and Wednesdays. We want to say congratulations to her because on the 18th, she became a grandmother for the third time. She had a grandson, and that's, in fact, I think it's like the first boy, that they've had on that side of the family. Hi, Maritza. And anyway, so this show is her brainchild. Originally, NP is about a year old now. And so originally she brought me on as one of her guests, and she brought me on because I'm a psychologist, a hypnotherapist, right, among a bunch of other professional hats I wear. So the way that I think about the check-in, or the nightly restorative check-in is think about what I want to be doing on a Friday. On Friday, I want to chill. On Friday, I want good food. I inhaled some sushi before I came on today, and I'm looking forward to finishing the rest of my meal here in a second. But it's that time where we get to kind of have somebody ask us, really, how are you? We get to unpack our week, our time. And that's what we hope to do with our guests, and to give you the opportunity to either cultivate that unpacking for yourself or to stimulate it and motivate that conversation between you and your loved ones. So Marisol and I, we do the 4-7-8 breath pattern at the beginning of our show. And it's something that we integrate across all of our shows. So the way that works is you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7, dude, I feel rusty. You hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you exhale for 8 seconds. And we do that 4 times around. I will count it out for you. If at any point you feel caught up, stuck, weird, all those kinds of things, just go back to the 4 count, go back to the inhalation, and, kind of catch us on that breath. I encourage you guys, somehow I'm saying hi to myself. Either somebody's on one of my accounts, which I don't think is the case. I don't know. So, but wow, this is interesting. Anyway, so, okay. So, I encourage you all to close your eyes. Hi, everyone that's greeting us. I encourage you to close your eyes or pick a focal point so that you don't lose your focus. Our visual sense allows us to become the most distracted. What else? This breath pattern is excellent if you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night and you can't go back to sleep. I personally use it as a transition. I could have used it before I got here. But anyway, so I personally use it as a transition as I'm moving from one event to the next. And it just creates that pause and that space. It's also just a lovely way for us to arrive. Okay, cool. I can feel my energy coming down. You all know that I have all this energy to greet you, and then I got to bring it back in to do this breath pattern. So if do whatever you're going to do to get comfy, close your eyes, pick a focal point, and just go and take your natural breath. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth and nose. And on this next inhalation, take it in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Go back to your natural breath. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit more centered, feeling better. My shoulders dropped for a second while I was just at least leading that for you. One of these days we'll, in fact, I'll actually bring on the person that taught me this breath pattern, and we can maybe unpack some of your physiological reactions, the stuff that signals that you're in a space of relaxation, or your relaxation response. Okay. So let me finish, telling you a little bit about myself. For those of you who don't know me, I talked about who I am professionally. Personally, I am originally from Southern California. My father is Afro-Cuban, so we are Taino and Arawak. My mom is from Guatemala, so we hail from Maya territory. Some of you have met met virtually, right? My siblings, they were some of my first guests on the show. I'm also a mom. I have a 21-year-old daughter who's going to be like sneaking in the house here in a second. I'm like halfway listening for her. The last piece of information that I always share with you all is the ways that I'm rooted in my community. So I'm a part of the Siwa Patli Collective. We focus on Indigenous mothering, and we like to say that we support families from womb to tomb. And you've seen a ton of my comadres and some of my elders here on the show. Last thing I want to say before we bring on our guest is I want to remind you to become a member of the National Parents Union. We actually just had our town hall on the 18th. We featured Tamika Mallory from Black Lives Matter. There are just all these beautiful events that take place and information that's passed along through our mediums. And if you are a member, you will be able to get some of that information a little bit sooner. So I'm going to ask some of my friends to actually throw the link in the chat if you can. If not, I'll pull it in and add it there in a second. Okay. So for today, since we're at the end of Black History Month, and also just because like Harold Branch is the bomb, and I already, I wanted to bring him on. I want to introduce him, and I wanted to bring him in to have conversations, given the vast array of accomplishments and of parts of life and aspects of life that he touches. So the way that I think of Harold, in the few ways that I know him, I think of him as a very proud father. I remember when we first met and we talked, I could feel his smile on the phone as he was talking about his kids. He's also the creator, the founder, and the host of HomeBase Poetry, which is, was, because we're not really meeting up as much anymore, but the creator of HomeBase Poetry. We'll talk about that. He's a coach and a trainer, and it's for an organization titled Branching Out Coaching and Training Services. And if that's not enough, he's also kind of working on his Ph.D. in performance psychology. So please welcome Harold Branch, who goes by HB. I feel really weird not like calling you by your full name. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Glad to be settled, like in my house,
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Welcome back.
So I didn't even ask you. I mean, what do you prefer? What do you want me to call you, Harold or HB?
I tell people all the time, I like all my names. So the one that makes you comfortable. So HB works. HB is wonderful.
Okay, we'll see. I'm going to go back and forth. You were introduced to me as Harold. So
Harold, I love Harold.
Yeah. You have, again, you know what? Your names are very similar to the ways you do your work, meaning like so vast. Like there's this formal side of you, but then there's this cool, relaxed side of you as well with the HB. So tell others who you are. So I kind of did my introduction of you, my version of who you are, but what other parts of your identity would be important for our audience to know? And thank you, Judith, and whoever entered the membership information in the chat.
Excellent. Yeah. So Harold Branch. I'm from Chicago. Very important piece. I am number 7 of 12. I have 11 siblings.
Wow.
Without a doubt. So I always like to represent mom and dad. Not that mom and dad had all 12. That's a whole story. But we all over the place. But you know,
I'm a mom who didn't give birth, so yeah,
what it is, right?
Yeah.
So, but really, really huge family, and very proud of that. But I also have to claim Phoenix, Avondale, West Side, very important to me. I moved out to Avondale when I was 16 for sure, and stayed until I was in my 20s, and then went back to Chicago to spend even more time home, and came back here about 14 years ago when my son was 1, which was really important. As you said, a father, very salient to my identity. I'm a member of different organizations, entrepreneurial groups, Team New Vision, very important to me within the Legal Shield umbrella as an organization. That's where I got so much of my business training. So I've been self-employed, non-checking in, clocking in for the past 13 years. So that alone is a journey, you know, not having that traditional gig and making ends meet as an entrepreneur. So that's been a journey. Learned a lot of lessons there as well. A poet, as you said, member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, Incorporated, Prince Hall, right? The Good Brothers of the Prince Hall. So couple things going on, and amazing people that I'm honored to be a part of, you know what I mean? Amazing groups and people that I love. So yeah, it's probably some more going on, but
for sure. I wish I knew your call. I don't know the call for the fraternity, but I'm sure someone knows, right? So
I take the love you got, right?
Yes, I recognize, yes. And I think it's so cool too, like thinking about current events, right? Thinking about Kamala Harris and how fraternities and sororities, right, are getting highlighted in more of a like mainstream public way, right? And so we're getting to kind of revisit all those affiliations, and I feel good for you guys. I didn't play, I didn't do any of that, but tons of my friends did. So
no, I appreciate that, because we tend to get bad press, you know, or more than not, our mistakes get highlighted, but not the members of our organizations that have gone to make the world what it is today. The world would look nothing like it does today if it wasn't for individuals that was great members of our organization, right? So that's really important. So it does feel good to have her representing that way. Yeah.
And let's talk about like I'm gonna check in with you in a moment. Do what I said I was gonna do. But like since we started talking about it, and I think since it is Black History Month, you know, let's talk about for a second the importance, right, actually of sororities and fraternities, like the historical importance. Do you want to share that, or do you want me to lead with kind of what I understand to be the historical importance of sororities and fraternities?
Yeah, no, I'm comfortable with that, obviously, right? So I joined my organization in 2000, spring of 2000, March 5th. And even before that, I understood, I didn't have as much of an understanding of the amazing role that Black Greek organizations have played, not just in the US, but, you know, globally, right? When it's said and done, colleges were not welcoming to Black people. It just was not welcoming to Black people, you know, and we had Howard, we had some of those original Black colleges, but all Black people don't live in these places that had enough Black people, right, to create entire institutions. So what do we do there, and how do we support that? And the fraternities wasn't welcoming, you know, Black folks into them. And so creating our own, like Black people do with anything we're not allowed to participate in, we create our own, and our own always got more flavor. Our own always got, you know what I mean?
And it gets copied, yes.
Right. And then you end up copying the thing we had to do on our own. But when you look at the support that so many Black leaders got from, you know, from organizations, it helped them get to where they wanted to go, right? The George Washington Carvers, you know what I mean? Huey P. Newton, very few people know that he was a Sigma, and you got so many members, and if you count all the different fraternities and sororities, it's a good chance that the majority of the people that you study you know what I mean? We're in an organization. We're in a
Yeah.
Black organization, right? So they got the support from those organizational ties, which allowed them to continue to move on, have and do what they was able to do for all of us. You know what I mean? So I prefer to spend energy on that. Every now and again, I meet someone and they have negative, experiences, and I let them know there's no group or person on the planet that has made mistakes, got some negative experience. You can't exist 100 years and not mess up.
You can't be human, yeah.
Never, but we have brought to the table has been a beautiful thing, and I'm very, very, very proud of not just my brothers, but all of the Divine Nine for sure.
It's it's a part of that like original networking, right? And then also outside of like in college space or in university space, right, having support and being able to network with individuals, it also then would extend out into professional space, right, of your first job. And we know that those networks are important. And then also I want to say they're also really old, right? Like none of us created this, right?
No.
So to be in communion, right, to be connected to a larger group of people is a natural way of being, right? Some of the ways that society has been created historically is what makes it unnatural or feel special, right? Because
Absolutely.
do stuff differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. And, and one of the major differences, our decision is for life.
Yeah.
When a lot of my white friends and family, when they talk about, they say I was in a sorority in college. I was in a fraternity. There is no was here. This is to the day I die, and beyond. I will be remembered, and that will be a part of my biography, is who I am in those fraternal bonds and connections. Because when you're talking about going out into a workforce that doesn't honor us all the time, and we have boundaries and barriers that other people don't have, we need all the support we can get. We need all the encouragement we can get, and it's really nice because you'll see interfraternal. A lot of times people think, well, only the Sigmas will support the Sigmas. And man, I've been supported and encouraged by everybody, Omegas and Alphas and Kappas and all the sororities. Obviously the Zetas are beautiful sisters, but the Deltas have always had my back, the AKAs. The mother of my children is an AKA, you know what I mean? So I always honor her, the Sigma Gamma Rose. So all of these organizations, even IOTAs, I'm thinking of some brothers that have my back. So, we all support and having each other. We need as many groups to have each other back as people of color as possible. So if we're bringing some support to the table, we need to encourage that and move that forward.
There's so many ways I could go with this conversation, but I'm gonna add though that so last weekend y'all saw my best friend and I for the second time. She was on my show for the second time, and we hosted the show together. And actually, so she is a diversity executive for a Fortune 500 company. And so we were talking about the differences between white folks that are in fraternities and sororities and Black folks or people of color really that are in fraternities and sororities, and how it's not that feeling of for life. So you literally just kind of like elucidated, brought light, you know what I mean, to another conversation that she and I were having. So yeah. Okay. The time goes so fast. So, and I'm aware of that. What we haven't done is I haven't checked in with you, I haven't asked you like, really, how are you doing? And I always tell all my guests, take your time. Let us know how you really are. Model for us what it is to do a good deep check-in.
I appreciate that. So one of the things about me, and this could be a benefit and it could be a challenge, and it's often a challenge, is I'm honest. Since I was a kid, I feel deep. I'm a deep feeler. I'm emotional. And I learned early on that even my embarrassing emotions or embarrassing moments or mistakes or what have you, there's people that identify with it. And I'm not alone. I'm rarely alone in an opinion or emotion or feeling. And people identify with it, even if it's hard to verbalize or embarrassing or what have you. But I'm not big on, denying those pieces. So life is really, really wonderful. I am blessed beyond measure and comprehension. But I have to admit this week, I'm feeling good, but it was a rough week. It was emotionally, it was a heavy week. Not that anything happened. Not that anything happened. I think maybe the pandemic and the quarantine and not socializing, I think that's probably caught up with me. I've had 4 family members pass since the summer. Starting with my mother aunt. I can't calling her my aunt doesn't do Auntie Frida justice. When my mother died at 2, she raised me. She took care of me, and she passed this summer, and we weren't able to even have a funeral. Wasn't even have anything to really do that. So that was something I had to deal with here, kind of not by myself, because I'm always surrounded by friends and family who would do anything for me. I'm blessed with my circle and my associations, but it was, I mean, I felt kind of by myself though, because I wasn't home, you know what I mean? So that was rough. And then a patriarch of our family passed, you know, Uncle Chuck Branch at 97. So you got to celebrate him. You got to celebrate him at 97.
Deserve it.
He was also the patriarch, and I miss him. And he was the branch man, and the closest thing I ever had to a grandfather. Right. So he passed, and then I had 2 cousins just pass, an aunt and a cousin who passed because of COVID within days of each other. So I did get to go home for that, but that was a funeral with 2 caskets. So it was, and that was maybe a month ago, maybe a month, right? So I think all of it just kind of caught up with me, and it had me heavy. But thank God I know how to take time to myself, take self-care, do what I need to do. And I also always know that it doesn't last forever.
No.
Heavy don't last forever, right? It's never been a double night. So always remember, if I don't know nothing else, when I'm in those darkest moments, I can't convince myself that I'm awesome. I can't convince, you know, self-esteem is down, self-belief is down. A lot of people don't think I ever get nervous. Like, you never get nervous. Man, I be shaking in my boots on stage. You know what I mean? I performed last Sunday for Brother Vaughn Willis, where he got engaged, which was beautiful. But I'm shaking on stage. You know what I mean? Like, I get nervous, and, you know, I question myself and my abilities. Maybe that's why I'm so committed to achieving in different areas. It's like, as soon as I complete something, it's like, what's next? Let's go. So I'm sure there's some pathological stuff going on there. Right? So, but with that, you know, being able to take that time, being able to honor the time. And when I can't convince myself of anything else, I can always lean on the sun to rise. I just got to make it to the sunrise.
The sun always comes up in the morning. Absolutely.
Like a horror movie, a vampire horror movie. If you make it to the sunrise, you'll be all right. You know what I mean? You know, so that's kind of how it was. But I'm feeling great, feeling much better, you know, throughout the week, been on the rise. And so I'm feeling awesome today.
Good. And I want to acknowledge all of that loss and grief in your family, and the complicated nature of the grief and loss for your family and for so many other families.
So many.
Yes. And, you know, and I told you, actually, you brought this up earlier, that there are many other hats that I wear that I just don't go and list, you know, because we do so much. But grief and loss has really touched my life. And I'm actually kind of certified as a death midwife. That essentially just means I help people. I help people walk them through the death process, whether it's in the individual that's passing or whether it's the surviving, right, friends and family. And there's a lot to that title. But that came out of, so 11 years ago, both my husband and my father passed away a day apart from one another. And I've certainly lost more people than that, but that was, you know, that was just a portion of what you're experiencing here, right, in this summer and this year, or last year. That big kind of hit were those bereaved situation, those grief situations that really knock you back, and you have to kind of like reevaluate your entire life. So how did you, what are some of the things you were doing to take care of yourself, even just outside of this week?
I started working out. I started working out a lot. Beautiful distraction. Really started at the beginning of the year before it went down, right? Before COVID, before everything, beginning of last year. And as the emotions ramped up, I ramped that up. So it was a good distraction. It gave me something to feel confident about. And, everyone knows when you start working out, you don't see results. Mm-hmm. You just feel the pain of the situation. But I was feeling stronger. I was these different things. And COVID gave me more of a reason to look at my health. So I started to look at my diet and some different pieces. So that was really fun. I dove into my schoolwork. Mm-hmm. I had not been a good student since I was really young. Struggled in school, distractions, attention challenges, just different things made it really, and then emotional ups and downs, right? I'm feeling like I could conquer the world. Then I'm depressed for a couple weeks. Then I feel right. So those emotional ups and downs made really achieving in school the way I wanted to difficult, even though I was smart, these different things. So when I went back for my master's degree, I never got straight A's, which was something I always wanted to have with straight A's. I would get all A's and a B. Like I never was able to pull it off. And I was like, I'm smart enough. I could do it. But once again, it's more than school is way more than just your intellectual ability. What else are you juggling? What else are you dealing with?
Absolutely.
And diving into school allowed me to graduate with almost a 4.0, but it was straight A's. It was 3.96. And that don't mean nothing to other people.
That damn A minus somewhere.
Statistics.
No.
But I take pride in it now. But having straight A's has really meant a lot to me. So I was able to dive into that part, which was really nice. Talking to myself, free writing, just free writing, emotions out, reminding myself it's not where I'm at in life, but how far I've come. Because comparison can be dangerous. Comparison can make you feel bad when you really don't deserve to. And I would randomly do that. But then I got to remind myself, these people may have more of the trappings, may have just already have hit the goals that I still look to achieve. However, they didn't come from as far as I came from.
Yes.
So if we don't look at where we are, but look at how far we've traveled, that's a better measurement of who we are as people, who we are, and just how far we've come. So I believe that should be more of a measurement for achievement than just where are we planted. Because some people was dropped off at the front of the line, even from a cultural perspective, from a parental perspective, stuff like that.
Well, that, and also the fact, thinking about this last part of what you're saying about success, is that it also doesn't look the same for each person, but we want to use like the same metric, right? The same way of measuring it, which is typically like economic success, I would say for men, and maybe in some ways changing for women, or like family success or relationship success, right? For women, if we're like dealing this in a really heteronormative way, right? At least that's what the world tells us. But that's hitting me because I know that I mark my success in so many other ways different from my career. And thank you. Those are all like really good suggestions, right? For people of ways to kind of soothe themselves, and they can, they can trust you because you are working on a PhD in performance psychology. There's a question from the audience that I want to make sure we get in here before we go away from it. You talked about being really honest, and you just did it. You just showed us right now how honest you are. What have been the challenges with being honest? Because you said sometimes it's hard, and I'm an honest person too, so I'm with you.
Yeah. I could talk too much.
Which on a show is a good thing. On a show, I appreciate it.
No, I gotta talk for a living. So, but I could talk too much. I could share too. Everyone doesn't deserve your whole truth. I'm not saying you lied, but everyone doesn't deserve everything that's in your mind.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone doesn't deserve all of your thoughts. Very few people deserve all your thoughts. So sometimes giving too much information to individuals that may not always use it to my benefit. Mm-hmm. They may not respond with compassion. They may take it and run with it. It may be something I'm still processing, and they run away with it as though it's how I feel. But it's not how I feel. It's me thinking and processing out loud so I can figure out how I feel. So I may toggle and work these opposing ideas in my mind. But if you just run with it, HB said, then you're actually misrepresenting me, even though I said it.
Yep.
It does. People are willing to say they don't know. You know?
Not many. Wait, so, okay, now this is like, let me see. Are you a Gemini? When's your birthday?
My birthday is Thursday. I'm a Pisces.
You're a Pisces. Oh, wow, that's surprising. It was all the thinking and talking that I was like, huh, that's not. Anyway, okay. I like astrology, y'all. So I like to guess. And yesterday I guessed right on my Uber driver. So I wanted to see if I could do it again today. But
that's all right.
You may have Gemini somewhere in your astrological chart. Anyway, okay. So yeah, so like you said, like giving too much. Let me, I think you'll appreciate this. Let me push you. What I hear when you talk about talking too much and maybe offering too much or not giving your whole truth, I think anything that we do, especially repeatedly, there's a payoff, even if we don't see it, right? What do you think you get out of the overshare? Like, why does that behavior stay? Why has it remained in your life?
Great question. I like this. I feel like we getting up into it.
It's a psychologist in the house. Yeah. Uh-huh.
What I benefit from the overshare, I don't carry the weight. I feel honest. I feel genuine. People can say, I know where HB stands. For example, if I got a real challenge with you, I don't believe that just because I got a problem with you, I need to mess your day up, with my problem with you. You're a child of God just like me, and you're doing fine. So I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, because that's arrogant. I can't say the way you're moving is wrong, but the way you're moving may just rub me wrong.
Right.
We may just be on the opposite side. However, if we got to deal with each other, like I got to see you, you're like, hey, I want you to do an interview with me. I would honestly have to say, man, honestly, I would love to, but let's talk first. There's something I want to clear up. I need to clear that air if we're going to be engaging. And for me, that's important, right? So stuff like that, it also helps me connect to people. Even though I overshare, even though I share, I'm honest, I'm just going in, people identify with me. People appreciate it. And they feel like they could connect to me. I'm human. Even though the bio has all these things I've done, they see the humanity. And I feel like sometimes I give people permission to feel, especially Black men. That's important to me. I'm from the west side of Chicago, Ice Lord neighborhood. Like, we go in. We really did it. You know what I'm saying? Third generation gang member kind of thing. My dad he's going to be mad at me for saying it. He got a bullet in his stomach still to this day. We were gunslingers. We wild boys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And from that, we're convinced that we can't have the soft emotions. We can't feel. We aren't allowed to be depressed. We're not allowed. Everything is our fault because we just choose to be bad versus I'm struggling in school because you ain't never sent me to a therapist, even though I've seen murders on my block. I've seen these different things, and I actually, I have depression, or I'm bipolar, or entire communities have a group depression that feeds into each other. So I talk about these things, even though some people may run away with it. Some people use it to judge me, but the majority of the people use it to love me and to love themselves even more.
Say
So
all of that. Yes, keep going.
I tell people as a poet, and everyone doesn't have this philosophy, but sometimes I've been in poetry 29 years. I've been writing. You know what I mean? I tell them, you know what? 28 years. I believe a poet's job is to bleed on paper and bleed on the microphone so people can heal in the audience. We open our wounds up over and over again so the audience members can heal. And that is a hell of a burden. That is a hell of a charge. I don't get to choose my mission. My mission chose me. So I sacrifice on something. Now, some things are private. If you know, I am a fairly private person about a lot of stuff. Heavy stuff I learned early, but I learned this message early because my mother died when I was 2. And I would just talk about it. And it was, you know, I lost her to suicide, me and my brother and sister. So I talk about it, and I just thought it was just normal. Like I grew up with it. And people were amazed, like, what? Oh my God, can't believe it. But that made them feel comfortable talking about their dad not being home or their mom being on drugs. It opened up the door. So if I got to do this to connect with the people, it's worth it.
So I'm
sorry.
No, it's blown away. You know, there's so many ways I can connect, but I'm blown away because of how transparent and how honest you're being, and because you're just really speaking truth to so many things that people are in the helping field see, but also I would just say so many things that people see, period, you know, that we maybe don't name, we don't give a voice to, and you're just putting it out there. So my blown away is not out of like I'm not bothered, I'm not distraught, I'm not overwhelmed. It's out of like, gosh, like not a lot of people do that, and your words demand for me to feel them. So like I need them, you know, I need the moment to feel it, until then like jump back into my mind, which is artificial, but jump back into my mind, right? So I can like respond to you, you know, and give like a thoughtful statement. So no, just thank you. Like, thank you for surviving. Thank you for sharing all of that. Thank you for representing like your community that way, for people who don't know, you know, because we do not hear that enough. I could have you talk about what it is to be a Black man and connect to your emotions and mental health for 5 years if they if the show could run that long, right? Someone is, I really appreciate this question or request. Someone is asking if you can please share a poem with us. So I'm going, I didn't ask you for that. And I don't know if that's possible at any point in time, if you feel inspired to, but maybe at some point, you know, something that expresses and represents all these emotions that you're feeling.
For sure. For sure. You tell me when.
Okay. If you're ready, you can go ahead, or we can close this out. What would you prefer?
I wouldn't want to close out with it because it's heavy. I feel like that just ethically, you know, I wouldn't want to leave them on such a heavy note. But I'm shocked. I'm an old school poet. We stay ready, right?
Okay. All right. My bad. I'm gonna mute, and you can go ahead right now because I feel that it's, you know, it's already there for you. So you let us know when you're, just go ahead and deliver. Let us know when it's finished, then we'll unpack it.
All right. So this piece is something that I wrote. It really, especially on the topic that we're discussing about mental health and struggles, is very, very personal. It's very honest. And it speaks about my mom and that experience and how I felt even late 20 years after the fact. So this poem is entitled My Mother's Son. Trying to win the campaign as governor of my own state of mind, I rewind time a little over 22 years to the day my mother realized she couldn't handle too many more tears, that life was a scandal and the future held many more fears. Her will to live candle was swiftly dimming. The Grim Reaper stood next to her grinning because they had been fighting for years, and he knew he was finally winning. Like first snow, her emotional downfall was beginning. It was obvious she had a torn soul and not a thread of happiness to do the mending. 6 million ways to die and one was chose. I'm sure she closed her eyes as the gun rose. The bullet made love to her mind as the August sun froze. She figured her 3 children be better off if she died, and her dawn never again rose. And ever since I was 2 years old, I've asked, why did my mother have to go? And they always replied, no one really knows what was going through her mind or why she chose to redefine God's grand design. But that answer just wasn't adequate. My young heart just couldn't handle it. My thoughts became frantic until the day I accepted that my manic depression was genetic. My suicidal thoughts moved me like they was telekinetic, just like the one who birthed me. I am my mother's son, sweating in my sleep, dreaming about the ones who hurt me. No matter how I try to bless the world, it always seems to tease and curse me. I can feel the hands of time closing in on my body like the clock was trying to search me. Mama, I understand. Because the same ones that work you to the grave irk me to this day. I'm a grown, educated man. I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I often go to sleep wishing I just wouldn't wake up. And my heart is always confused and unstable, like I'm constantly recovering from a really bad breakup. And I'm insecure about my inner beauty, like an adolescent girl in puberty who just left the house wearing too much damn makeup. The towel isn't enough. I'm ready to throw in the entire linen closet and just give up. I am my mother's son, and I'm sure it breaks her heart that her baby boy doesn't want to breathe anymore. But opening my eyes is a chore. Pain, murder, and suffering I don't want to see anymore. So I invite death with my pen and walk through the world with a tight grin to hide the expression of depression. They say that life is a test. If so, I haven't been studying my lessons because I'm not prepared for these questions. They say when you die is when you get to do your resting. But I'm tired now. Everyone eventually expires from this world of desire. The only question is how. I can even narrow down when, naturally within the next 60 or so years. But by then, I would have lost 60 or so peers, cried 60 million or so tears, waiting for death to rear its ugly head. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and the grave is pretty attractive to a young man who thought he was a soldier, but now waits impatiently for his life to be over. I'm tired of carrying the world's drama boulders on my emotionally underdeveloped shoulders. The temperature of God's heart must be dropping steadily, because every day the world grows just a little bit colder, and I don't even want to grow just a little bit older. I'm tired of trying to live a life with no rules. I'm tired of trying to build a career and love life with no tools, like sending an obese man with bunions to a church with no pews. I can only stand for so long, and I hate myself because my obituary must state that I never really planned to go wrong. I was merely the epitome of a man who couldn't go on, useless like an NFL quarterback who couldn't throw long. I'm the Kaiser Sose of falling down, because one day you'll all look around and poof, I'll be gone.
I need, applause actually isn't even appropriate for that, in the sense of like the feeling, the emotion, like, and the speech. I think sometimes we want to fill space with words, and I wish I almost just could have remained silent for all of the feelings to like hit, in all of the ways that you intended it to hit.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And if anyone doesn't know HomeBase Poetry, now they do. I'm still sitting with it. So I actually, gosh, there's so much. One of the questions that I want to ask you, what do you want your audience to hear from that? And I say that as in, like, from a point of analysis, if there's one of the strongest things you want them to hear, what do you hope they hear?
So for clarity, my purpose in writing it was staying alive.
Mm.
So I didn't write it for audience.
Mm.
Most of my poetry, 80% of my poetry, I don't write for the audience. I write for me. And then I share for the audience. But I don't write for the audience. I share for the audience.
Mm.
That makes sense?
It does. Uh-huh.
So I wasn't trying to teach not. I wasn't trying to do these things. I was feeling like every bit of that feeling is what I was feeling. And I had to get it out. And I get it out in writing so I don't get it out in action. Because we know what that looks like. Your child, a survivor of suicide from a parent, your rate of suicide goes through the roof.
Absolutely.
That's something I've always known, and something that I created my own self-care pieces and my own ways to help keep me stabilized when the darkness decides to show up, right? So, but what I hope people get from me sharing it is that they're not crazy, they're not alone. The conversation needs to be normalized. People are afraid of even saying they've ever felt this way, because they scared a paddy wagon gonna show up, for lack of a better term, right? But that paddy wagon is gonna show up, that somebody gonna come and drag them away, right? These different things. People are gonna, and this is a tough one. I don't want to say overreact, because you got to take these kind of conversations super serious, but at the same time, sometimes you just need to be heard. Sometimes that's it. So hearing that, and I also recognize that some people are really shocked that I have struggles. Like, it blows their mind. If people only see me from the stage, and they make up in their mind kind of what my history has been and what my life has been. Now, knowing that life has been literally trauma after my mom was the first, seeing dad at 1 and then reconnecting with him at 14, but he was going by 1. And my mom at 2. And since then, it's been trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. So when people find out, wow, he looked like he has it all together. Damn, he's been through stuff I've been through. I could work to have it together too. You know what? He's not better than me, which by far I'm not. He didn't have it privileged in any capacity, but he did get some support, right? He did get some support and take advantage of it. So if people could relate to it on that level, that's sweet. That's sweet.
Well, that, and also, like you said, we don't do enough, and I'm aware of it even right now, and I'm feeling the pressure of it just being, 2 of us on screen, so to speak. We aren't given the opportunity, and we don't make time to just sit in emotion, right? We feel that way we have to do something, whether we feel that way or whether it's demanded of us, right? Whether we're asked to continue to work, continue to feed our children, continue to just do life,
Right.
And mostly out of discomfort, that we just keep going. And so that's what I think your piece also invites, because you warned us, it's heavy, it's intense. There's a lot of emotions there. Nothing that's going to get unpacked in 16 bars, right? A song. Nothing that's going to get unpacked. I heard the Wu-Tang reference, by the way, too. I was like, oh, 6 million ways to die. But anyway, it's not going to get unpacked, quickly, but you package it in a way that makes us able to take it in. And package it in a way that allows us to approach the emotions that are so hard. And I really appreciate you also mentioning kind of the part of the influence of trauma for societies, for entire groups, right? That we just don't talk about.
Right. If I could say this real fast, I feel a responsibility. I do feel that. And it's kind of twofold. For one, I justify my trauma and my experiences. Thank you, Judith. Thank you. I process The only way I could justify all the things that has occurred to me in my life is that, okay, I'm here to survive it so that I can show other people how to survive it. I have to justify it some way or I'd be bitter. I'd be angry with everybody, starting with God, right? I don't want that. So I justify it saying, okay, and I feel a responsibility because I do feel I've been given the gift of communication, the ability to put the toughest things into words in a way that everyone could feel and identify with. And I've been blessed to work with every group you can imagine, every group. And everybody feels depression, pain. Everybody feels these things. These are universal concepts. And I believe I've been gifted with being able to share those and talk about those in a fashion that connects. So that I have to do it because who else will?
Well, and I'm going to say, and you don't have to, but I'm appreciative that you do. I'm appreciative that you choose to, and that choice is important too, because there's so many of us that don't want to. And I'll be super honest here. I'm someone who I can share my emotions, but not until I wrap my mind around them. And I'm actually working so hard to be vulnerable in the moment. That has probably been like my sincere charge for a long time, but for sure in this past year or two, there's lots that I can add to that, but it's hard for me because I don't like that feeling of probably lack of control, emotional control. It just doesn't feel good. I like to be able to be secured by presentation, and vulnerability is the opposite of that security.
You don't know. The thing about being vulnerable is you don't know what you may get.
Yeah.
You may get support and love and understanding, but you may get confusion. You may get shamed. You may get these different things. What allows me to continue, and I still stumble, right? I still struggle sometimes. I still got to take time away because I feel anger, but I know it's not anger. It's something else. So I take it away so I get to the real one, right? The real thing going on. But I do it because the reward of being vulnerable and it working out is astronomical. But there are strategic ways to be vulnerable. Yes. I'm not just vulnerable everywhere. Being vulnerable in front of a group of people is easier than one-on-one vulnerability. Yeah. So I got people watching this that I don't know. This is literally out to the universe. And I'm just like, I'm sharing. I'm just giving it up.
But you're helping. I think vulnerability with purpose, I experienced that. So ironically, you guys, I think that the show is what has helped me. Doing this show is what has helped me be even more vulnerable, because I think what I know, one of the things that I make up about it is like my vulnerability is helping other people. So there's this performative aspect, and not performance like I'm doing backflips, but performance as in like I'm doing me. I'm getting to do the things that are natural talents to benefit someone else. But when I have to do it for myself because I like you, because I don't like you, because we have a relationship, whatever it is, that's the part that feels hard, because then I really am on my own. And so just your words are really connected.
And it could go left, but if it goes right, you win.
And you get more connected. That's the thing too. And I'm not saying it because I'm good at it. I really recognize when there are people in my life that are good at being vulnerable, and that always makes me feel closer to them.
And I tip my toe. I don't need to give it all to everybody. Once again, everybody doesn't deserve your whole truth, right? I dip my toe in the water, give them a little bit, see how they respond, right? You know what's going on. So you do have to do that because you got to protect your heart as well. You don't want. I know people that just lay it bare and they're hurt all the time and they can't be their best selves. But they also got to take some responsibility for that, because they're being careless with their own heart. And anytime you overdo anything, it loses value. Anything. That's the way the market works. It loses value if it's overdone.
And I think we need to understand why. And I don't think there's no formula. There's no formula of like, say 10 words and that's going to be enough, it truly is trial and error. But I know that some of the things that I teach and consult and kind of teach people to consider is why? What's the motivation? What do you want to get out of it? Be honest with that part. If you're not going to be honest with anyone else, be honest with yourself at least. what do you want to achieve, or what is pushing that share and that emotion. I want to ask a question, get in a comment. We're gonna do it in the last few minutes.
Okay, I'll go quick.
Can you connect this to performance psychology, because that you're studying and getting your PhD in performance psychology, and that's something that people might not know all of what that is.
I didn't know about it a year ago, right? So I've been training and facilitating, whether if it's discussions on suicide, anger management, life skills, how to work with youth since I was 17 years old. I love public speak. I enjoy connecting. I enjoy it. Remember, that's how I justify my pain, is through connecting and watching the light bulbs go off, right? Watching people feel connected, feel like I gave them a tool that they could go on and utilize in their life to make things that much better, increase their quality of life. Always love it, all that good stuff. I've been doing that for so long. And I looked up and said, I need my education to match my experience. I wanted to do something else, and I needed my education to match my experience. So I went back to school for psychology with my master's psychology with a focus on coaching, right? Assistant coaching. And I wanted to get my PhD, because why not? Why not? I feel like I can do it. It's something I've wanted to do in the past, and I'm at the point in my life, there is no later, there's only now. So if I'm gonna do it, I need to do it. So performance psychology, I found as I was looking through the options, it started in working in sports and helping people perform better in the sport arena. But then it stretched out into stage performance, which is something I'm intimate with and something that means a lot to me. But then just overall performance in life, to perform better, setting the tone, setting that psychological piece up to put you in the best place to be your best self. And when I read that description, even though I'm not a sports head, I respect it, but I rather. But when I saw that, that's exactly who I am. People ask me, what do you want to do? What kind of job do you want to get when you finish your degree? I don't. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing on a higher level. I want to serve my people, but serve them better. And it's one thing to have ideas and solid and theories. It's another thing to be able to back those theories up with research, with facts. And everyone doesn't know me intimately. Why should they believe me? When I say I got all this experience, for some people, for them to even get the message, they need to see the PhD, Dr. Branch, or what have you. So if that's what I need to do to touch even more people and do what I believe my purpose is, then that's what I'm going to pursue, even though it's one of the most challenging things I've done. This is streaming. I'm a full-time dad and, 15-year-old, 12-year-old. So, and running a business and all these different things. And it is challenging, but that's what I'm doing.
It is the time and the hoops that you feel like you're jumping through. That's another show about what it is to get your PhD. I appreciate when people talk about that, getting your PhD really more than anything is often a demonstration of your tenacity to stick through something, for a set amount of time and to organize your life that way. Okay, we're gonna take a couple more. Are you okay if we go a little bit over, like a couple minutes?
I'm here. I'm with you. I ain't got nothing else planned. I'm rolling.
All right. So, because somebody asked a good question, this is like the educator in me that's responding. And I think, Cecily, you've asked a couple of good questions, and you talked about, let me put this up, that poetry, right, is vulnerability, and that you're trying to use it in your history class as a way to connect with lost narratives. And so then your question is, how can you inspire students to write poetry? What do you have to say about that, HP?
When I go to classes or when I teach poetry classes, especially with youth, it's important. I believe in most teaching environments, if you show them how they're already doing the thing you're trying to teach them. So you're already doing math. Let me show you how. Now, that's all this is. So it's easy. You've been doing this forever. Now we're just structuring it. Same thing with poetry. Poetry is so wrapped around us in music, in advertising, in so many different ways, right? So starting off with their favorite musician, favorite songwriter, favorite rapper, or what have you. And then let's print these lyrics out. Let's take the beat away and let's talk about that, right? Let's process that. Now, what does yours look like, right? Now let's compare that and let's show them some videos of spoken word on YouTube. It's exciting for young people because it's performative. Show them some YouTube of some spoken word and not just the one you like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But show them some things that they could connect to. Brave New Voices was an entire show of youth doing spoken word about youth-centered issues. So those things are on YouTube right now. So look those up, share those as well. And as you're sharing, now start to incorporate some more traditional forms of poetry and make it culturally relevant. If you're talking to Black students, share Langston Hughes. Not that they don't need to know E.E. Cummings, right? But share with them something that they can connect to, something that means a lot to them, something that they can identify with. Share the Gwendolyn Brooks, share the Maya Angelou's, right? But also share the Edgar Allan Poe's. Edgar Allan Poe is the reason I write poetry. My uncle used to come on and recite Edgar Allan Poe to me. And it wasn't cultural connection, but it was the rhyme scheme sounded like rap to me. Once midnight jewelry while I pondered weak and weary of mid quaint curious volume of forgotten lore as I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping and someone gently rapping at my chamber door. 'Tis some visitor muttered rapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December. And each separate dying ember wrought his ghost upon the floor. So changing up the tempo, changing up the flow, showing them how they can enjoy it and have fun with it. That's what I would do.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. And I think about it as, and forgive me if I'm oversimplifying it, but as the tool to tell stories, as the tool to, especially in historical context, to revitalize or capture a story that's untold.
And don't let them write however they write. I have failed every poetry class I've ever taken.
Good for you. I genuinely mean that. Like, good for you, because really? It tells me that you're like breaking rules, doing things differently,
It's crazy.
I feel like I could have you on for a whole nother hour. We won't do that. We're just gonna have to bring you back. And we're gonna have to kind of talk about even more of all of the variety of hats that you wear. I just want to tell people that if you want to connect with Harold, right, his email address is kind of ticking across, is in the ticker, floating at the bottom of the screen there. Any way that you want to close this out. And sometimes I hate being asked that question as a speaker, right? But a message that you want to give, something that people can hang on to this weekend.
Without a doubt. And check me out on the Instagram. Becoming HB is the Instagram handle, right? Check me out there. Follow my, Facebook and stuff like that, whether it be HomeBase Poetry or Harold Branch III as well. Just love to have you stay connected. For whatever the reason, and let you know when the book is coming out. I'm writing a memoir, so that's the other huge thing. God, that's 67. That's the process of writing this book is a whole nother thing because you're talking about reliving trauma on a level I never did before. That's why it's taken years to do it. I got to take breaks from it. It's emotional. It's triggering.
Well, I want to remind you that you have a dissertation, so I hope you can fold these two coming, so I hope you can fold these two together because that is yeah.
That would be nice. So what I would leave you with is keep living and succeed anyway. Sometimes it's hard to come up with a good reason to be happy. Sometimes you get into the depths of the pain, man. And it feels like it's going to be dark forever. And it's hard to justify doing anything. And you may sleep, you may stay in bed, you may slunk around the house, you may eat comfort food longer than you should. And guess what? If that's all you can muster, that's okay. Don't take it out on other people because just because you're traumatized does not allow you to traumatize others. That's not okay. Number two, if that's all you can do, just keep living, baby. Just keep living. because the fog will lift. You don't even know how. Want it to lift, and eventually the fog will lift, and you'll feel like moving a little bit and do a little bit more and a little bit more, and you will crawl out of your darkness. I'm telling you, because I know intimately how this works, and you will be back to your best self, but you have to want to. But when you can't do nothing else, just don't die. Keep living. 2, succeed anyway. Everything you've been through, everything you've gone through are justifications to not do what you were put here to do. They are. And a lot of times you'll hear motivational speakers, that's not good enough. That's not okay. No, it's justified. I get it. I get it. Honestly, I feel communities like the Black community, we gotta be lucky everybody isn't just depressed and laying down on the ground.
Absolutely.
The fact that anybody is doing anything worth doing speaks to the character. So you are justified to not do anything. But I invite you to succeed anyway, to experience it and go get it anyway. It's justified. And remember, success is your own definition thereof. For me, I sacrificed income and business so I could be a stay-at-home father. Nothing was more important than that. I never got to be a son. So being bad, I could live with not making $1 million. I can't live with being a bad father when the time is over. So define what that success is, that when your time comes and you're on your last day, that if you did A, B, C, or D, you're good. You're good with that. And don't let anybody else define that for you, because you're the only one that's going to have to answer for it at the end of the day.
Thank you. I'm going to come back and tell you one thing, and then we're going to close it out here of that. So I shared that my husband passed away, my mother-in-law. That used to be her phrase that I still repeat, that stays with me, of keep living, like just keep living. So it means a lot to me. And it's a thought that I don't often kind of get to share, a story that I don't get to share. And then I'm going to echo Cecily's thank you here, and her little use of the sun emoji, because the sun does come up, and I hope that it continues to come up frequently and longer than it should in a 24-hour period for you, because you have passed through quite a bit of that dark time. You've run those line drills. You've run enough line drills, I hope you get all the fruits of your labor and all the sunshine that you deserve. So we thank you, Harold, for coming on. We will definitely bring you on maybe when you finish your book.
All right. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. And thank you all for just listening. I don't take that for granted. Your time is valuable. So you listening means a lot.
Absolutely. So even though at the end, go ahead and share this video on your pages so that people can watch it, and so that they can hear all the wonderful things that touched you right in the show. I want to encourage you all to take care of yourselves. Use some of the practices that Harold shared with us. Have a good, restful, restorative weekend. You deserve rest just as much as you deserve to work hard. All right, everyone, take care of yourselves.